In 1936, the NFL held its first ever amateur draft. The second overall pick was Riley Smith, a quarterback out of Alabama who was poised to lead for the next decade plus. 2 years later, after being replaced by Sammy Baugh, being converted to a kicker, and witnessing Baugh lead his team to a title, injuries ended Riley Smith's career. 3/4 of a century later, the Washington Redacted moved heaven and earth to move up to the second overall pick. For exactly 1 year, Washington's move looked like a stroke of genius. That is, until Griffin fell victim to the curse of the second overall pick. One of the biggest obstacles to maintaining a healthy lifestyle isn't what you think it is. Diet plays a huge part, but have you ever thought about the snacks that you eat? Whatever path you choose towards weight loss, a stronger immune system, or overall health, Thrive Market has you covered. Look right here, you can choose any diet you want and get tons of options for the highest quality, sustainable products, and all at a great price. Members of Thrive save on average of $32 per order. Look at all these healthy, low-carb, low-sugar snacks I got delivered right to my door, giving me more time to hit the gym. So after this video, hit the link below and give Thrive Market a try. You can choose a membership model that best fits your lifestyle, either 1 month or 12 months, and with Thrive's new offer, you can get 25% off your first order and a free gift. For me, I went with the 12-month option as I snack 24/7 and it ends up being about $5 a month anyways. Again, go to thrivemarket.com/5 points and get 25% off your order and a free gift. Thrive on. The number 1 overall pick comes with plenty of pressure. However, that pressure is usually placed on the player most equipped to handle it. The player that teams and scouts have handpicked as the greatest of his class, more physically talented and mentally sharper than the rest of his peers. But what about the guy who's picked next? He bears almost as much pressure, but is almost never a consensus pick like the number 1. Out of the last 25 second overall picks, 6 have been quarterbacks, 5 have been offensive tackles, 6 defensive linemen, 3 were linebackers, 2 wide receivers, and 3 running backs. 1 second overall, Calvin Johnson, has made the Hall of Fame. Julius Peppers and Von Miller will make it in the coming years. They're the exception. Notice I didn't say any QBs. Some teams get it right, but in many instances, they get it wrong. Not just wrong, dead wrong. There's actually a psychological aspect of the curse that comes along with coming in second place, whether it's winning a silver medal in the Olympics or being picked second overall, either in the draft or on the playground. Psychologists believe that coming in third can be better for an athlete's mental state than coming in second. Essentially, the person who finishes in second spends their time thinking about what they could have done differently to finish first, like the Falcons, while the one who finishes in third is just happy to be included in the top 3. A third place finish cuts out something called counterfactual thinking, dwelling on what could have been. If their head isn't screwed on tight, the pressure can simply be too much.
You don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off!
Believe it or not, Ryan Leaf was not an abject bust right away. He won his first 2 starts, but then by week 3, he completed just 1 of 15 passes, throwing 2 interceptions in a 23-7 loss in Kansas City. And it never got better from there. If we harken back to Leaf's first, slightly more relaxed interaction with the San Diego media, it's obvious that a lot of the pressure he faced was actually self-inflicted. Fresh off a night of partying in Las Vegas, Leaf took the Chargers podium for the first time and, in between hungover yawns, promised a Super Bowl ring or 2.
I need to reward them in some way, so hopefully a Super Bowl ring or 2 can do that in the next few years.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Not every failed number 2 overall pick crashes and burns so quickly as Ryan Leaf, the football equivalent of the Hindenburg. Some of the victims are a slow burn. Take Marcus Mariota, a polar opposite to Leaf in terms of personality and work ethic, but nonetheless a square peg in Tennessee's round hole of an offense. Given the chance, Mariota may have thrived in an up-tempo spread offense like the one he ran in Oregon, but never maximized his talents as a Titan. It took Tennessee 5 years, a playoff victory, and a few productive seasons to eventually figure out that Mariota wasn't their long-term answer. But by most measures, he would have been considered a successful pick if only he wasn't taken so high. And part of the problem lies in supply versus demand. When Mariota came out in 2015, a poor draft class, the quarterback supply didn't meet what the market needed. By nature of simply being a QB in a year where his only real competition was Jameis Winston, Mariota's stock was inflated and likely pressed him into a spot where he was expected to be great. All he could produce was And the slow burn of the curse isn't exclusive to the QB position either. The player who slowly simmered while never catching fire can also be applied to another Pac-12 star, former USC and a sort of running back, Reggie Bush. Ironically, Bush may have escaped an even worse fate by not being picked first overall by the Houston Texans. Bush was positive he would end up in Houston, but the Texans did Texan things, grabbing pass rusher Mario Williams and allowing Bush to slip down to number 2. One of the most electrifying players in college football history went to the lowly Saints. Another bullet dodge, the New York Jets tried to trade up to the number 2 spot to draft the former SC running back, but weren't able to pull off the move from 4 to 2. Instead, they had to settle for D'Brickashaw Ferguson, their cornerstone left tackle for the next 10 years. It turns out the Texans actually made a good move, valuing a pass rusher above a running back. The Jets were ahead of the curve too, but not by choice. Remember, the Jets make good moves by accident, not intention. In a vacuum, Bush had a solid career, but there was no living up to the promise of his legendary career as a Trojan. The scouts expected Gale Sayers, and what they got was closer to DeAngelo Williams. New Orleans didn't take Bush because he was the best fit for their football team. They took him because they desperately needed star power to sell tickets in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. Even though he helped the Saints as a role player on their way to their first Super Bowl win, he could have never filled the role of Bayou Messiah. Bush actually put up his best numbers when he left New Orleans after he was able to shed some of the pressure living up to his draft slot, though no matter where he went, the curse of expectation followed him around. Tony Mandarich finished his career in Indianapolis as a stalwart protector of Peyton Manning. But history won't remember him as a reliable guard for the Colts. It'll remember him for not being any of the following players: Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, or Deion Sanders. You can probably guess where Mandarich fit in between those 5 Hall of Famers. Could you imagine Brett Favre handing off to Barry Sanders? That might have been reality if the Packers hadn't opted to take the 6'6" tackle out of Michigan State. Before he was picked in 1989, Mandarich appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated with the title, The Incredible Bulk. 3 years later, he reappeared on the cover of SI, this time accompanied by the title, The Incredible Bust. It turns out that bulk had been accumulated partially due to steroid use, and though he promoted himself well before his career started, Mandarich never lived up to the hype nor the bad luck of having so much top talent go behind him. And that leads us to the tale of 2 QBs taken number 2 overall. Carson Wentz and Mitch Trubisky have faced even more pressure than the average number 2 for the same reasons. Their teams moved heaven and earth to get them, and neither team got what they expected. The Philadelphia Eagles gave up 2 first-round picks, a second, third, and a fourth-rounder, plus 2 players to move up from pick 13 to second overall, giving them the chance to take, well, whoever the Rams didn't. The Bears made a much stranger trade. To ensure no one else leapfrogged them, Chicago moved up 1 spot from 3 to 2, surrendering 2/3 and a fourth to swap spots with the 49ers. The Eagles won themselves the Carson Wentz sweepstakes, and the Bears paid a premium to ensure they wouldn't be burdened by the talents of Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. Each player has had their moments as starters, Wentz nearly securing an MVP award if not for a late season injury, but their stars faded after their sophomore seasons, with both of them unceremoniously moving on from their teams. And that brings us to the last part of the curse, one you really can't stop. In the 2012 NFC wildcard game in Washington, Robert Griffin III leaned down trying to pick up a fumbled snap. On awkward footing atop a poorly maintained field, Griffin's knee buckled and the Rookie of the Year tore his ACL and LCL. In one play, Griffin lost the explosiveness that made him faster than everyone on the field, gave him the arm strength to stretch the field, and the elusiveness to dodge would-be tacklers. A playoff season in 2012 that included 27 touchdowns and 4,000 total yards became a 3-10 sophomore season. The player who was once considered the future of the position would only start 35 games in Washington, and things got ugly, really ugly, before Griffin started a second act as a respectable career backup, having never lived up to the expectation he began to deliver on his rookie year. It wasn't just the curse of the second overall pick, it was unavoidable bad luck. But what is a curse really? The curse is that the talent doesn't necessarily match the level of immense pressure. The first overall pick is more often a sure thing, but the next name called is simply the best of the rest. A player who, as psychologists put it, will always be fixated on why they didn't go first. There's also normal failure that can be attributed to any draft position. But recent history suggests the curse may be lifting. The last 5 players selected have all made Pro Bowls, even if 2 of them were the aforementioned Wentz and Trubisky. If the greatest burden you can place on a person's shoulders is expectation, well then maybe we should all temper ours. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more interesting videos on sports. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.